Hi everyone, welcome back to Xcoding with Albion. In this video, we're going to build a native Swift modern Windows application using Microsoft WinApp SDK with WinUI 3 framework. This is a special video because we're not going to build an iOS or macOS video like usual. Instead, we're going to build a modern Windows application using Swift. We're going to use an open source project from the browser company, the maker of Arc browser. So it is called Swift-WinRT that generates Swift binding for Windows App SDK, WinRT, and WinUI 3 API for Swift. Okay, so let me show you a quick demo of the application that we are going to build. So this is the application. We can resize this, and as you see, the content of this grid view will be adjusted. So the grid view itself is adaptive. Here we have a list of all the news articles. This is the header for the category. And here we have a navigation view containing all the categories that we can select, starting from general, business, technology, entertainment, sports, science, and health. Okay, so let's say I select entertainment. It should fetch and fetch all the news related to the entertainment only. Seen here, it is very smooth. It's a native application. So it also supports this pull to refresh. Nice, right? And when we click on one of the article in here, it will show also, it will open the article in the browser. Nice. And if you see here, as this is a native Windows application, I can use keyboard navigation to navigate the grid view here. Nice, right? So this is the application that we are going to build in this video tutorial. Okay, so let me close this. Before we begin to code, there are several things that we need to download. The first one is the starter project. So navigate to this GitHub repository. So this is the fork from the browser company /Windows sample repository. I fork this, and what we need to do is just to basically download the zip file containing this project. This will be the starter project that we are going to use. Okay. And the next one, we also need to use a specific Swift build for this so it can build successfully. So far, I'm not able to build successfully when I use the official Swift toolchain from the Swift.org. So we need to use this, the browser company /Swift build, and this specific releases with the tag 2023.1213.3. Okay, I provided the link as well in the description below. Just download depending on your architecture of your PC. Myself, I'm using AMD 64. Okay, and then just install it to your machine. And the next one is you also need to download Visual Studio Community 2022. So this one is free. Just download this. And after you download this, there are several things that you need to install. So there are a lot of components in here, right? The thing that we are going to use is only this desktop development with C++. Okay, this is the one that is required. And also there are several components. First one, make sure you check all of this. I think the most important one is this Windows 11 SDK 10.0.22621.0. Check this. And also this one 10.0.20348. Okay, they are the SDK that contains the WinApp SDK that we will be using. Okay, just make sure you install this C++ and those Windows 11 SDKs. So after you install this to your machine, finally you just need to download Visual Studio Code if you haven't. Okay, so just download the Windows version, Windows 11, to your machine, as we are going to use Visual Studio Code for building this application. Okay, so next open the Visual Studio Code and click on this extension from the left panel, and first install the Swift extension, this one from the Swift server workgroup. We are going to need this to build the Swift application. Okay, and next one is this CMake. Search for CMake and install these two, CMake and CMake tools. So after you install all of these extensions, just restart your VS Code. Okay, I've already installed it. So now let me open the project. So to open the project, we need to click these files and then select Open Workspace from File. And in here, navigate to the location where you download the starter project and click this WinUI 3 animation preview. And there should be this file with the code workspace as the extension. So click this one. It will open this as a workspace. Okay, just trust the arrows in here. And then select debug in here for the configure presets. It will configure everything. So make sure you have download all the requirements that I have said before, such as the Swift build tools, Microsoft Visual Studio Community 2022 with the Windows SDK and C++ desktop development. Okay, so this is done. Build faster written to this location. Next, we need to click on this CMake from the left pane. And what we need to do is just to basically go to here and then click this build all projects. So it will basically build all the dependencies and then build the project from scratch. It will take some time, so just wait. Okay, so let's see. It's still building, linking, almost done. Let's go to the bottom. Okay, build finished with exit code 0. It means it built successfully. Okay, now we have built the app. So how can we open the app? So basically, it will output the executable to this build bin. Okay, so navigate to this build bin and then click this exe reveal in File Explorer. Okay, so if you see this WinUI 3 animation preview, let me click. And there you go. This is the application, the running application based on the source code. Okay, currently it's just showing this hello world, which we can click. And when we hover, it's just animate. Okay, so this is the starter project from the browser company Windows samples repository. Let's close this. Okay, we have successfully compiled and run the app. And one more thing, when you open the app for the first time, there may be a prompt that asks you to install the WinApp SDK. So just follow the instruction and download the WinApp SDK to your machine. Okay, and you should be able to run the app successfully. Now let's say we want to make modification to the starter project. What we need to do is just to navigate to this WinUI 3 animation preview and go to the sources. So this will be the application that we are going to build inside this. So let's make a modification in here, right? So currently the button displays this hello world inside this preview app.swift. So this is the one that holding the main window and setting the content of the window with the button, right? And let's say we make modification hello XCA. Okay, save this. So what we need to do is just make sure you have closed the running application. Just close it so the build can succeed, and then click this build from here, project outline with UI 3 animation preview. Click this and it should succeed with the exit code 0. Okay, finish with exit code 0. And again, we just need to open the bin, the executable from here. Click this. If you see, it is updated with the hello XCA. So that will be our development workflow. Because I haven't found a way to debug this successfully using a breakpoint from VS Code. If you know how to do it, just provide a comment at the description below. Okay. But for now, we are going to use this approach. Just building the app and run the app. Okay. So next, before we begin, we also need to make some adjustment in this Swift-WinRT CMake. So this is the file where it will generate all of the Swift binding for all of these WinUI component, right? As you see in here, it's button, canvas. So they haven't include everything in here. So there are several components, controls that we need to add, such as navigation view, refresh container that we will be using, right? So basically, I'm going to just copy this snippet. I also provide the link to this snippet at the description below, so you can also copy this. So this is all the component where we are going to also add, so can be generated. Okay, so this grid view item, items wrap grid, refresh container, navigation view, and progress ring. So it's not included in the starter project, but we can simply add this and it will generate the Swift binding from the WinUI interface. So let me give you a architecture overview of what we'll be using to build this application. So the first one is this article by the browser company Salim Abdul Rasul. So I've provided the link as well to this description below. It explains about this Windows API, COM, C++, and their delightful integration into Swift. This is the foundation where basically it enables Windows API to be used from the Swift itself, from the toolchain, right? And if you know, right, the Swift embeds a copy of CLang here, the C and C++ compiler. And Swift Windows toolchain provide this Windows SDK that we can use to access the native C Windows API. So this is an example of Win32 application by Salim as well. So this is also the component object model where several of the Windows APIs such as DirectX, WinRT are using, okay, as the foundation. It exposes the interface definition language, which exposes these two fundamental operations, object lifetime management and the access to object functionality, where we can query the method that we want to call. So I won't be explaining this in a depth, and it's better for you to just read from this article, right? This article provide a good explanation on how this works under the hood. Okay, I will never be able to explain this better than Salim himself. Okay, so I provide the link to this as well for you to read. And the second article, if this Swift meet WinRT, so this is the one that explain about the Swift WinRT library, the Swift binding generator for WinRT, where we can use this to access the WinApp SDK and WinUI from Swift. So yeah, you can read this. I provide the link in the description if you want to learn about this in a depth, right? And this is the comparison of the WinRT. So this will map to this in Swift. Okay, it's quite simple and easy to understand actually. Okay, and basically we will build this app just using a standard MVC pattern. And if you know that WinUI is usually built with XAML file when you use C#, right? But for us, we are just going to build the UI programmatically. Okay. There are one example where I will use XAML string to create the component at the runtime. Okay. And actually, when we build this app, there is no IntelliSense auto completion as of now. it doesn't support that. So one thing that I recommend you is just to download this WinUI 3 gallery app from the Microsoft Store. So this provides a gallery of the WinUI SDK. And like for example, grid, right? You can just see, play around, look at the source code, look at the documentation. So I also recommend you to just open the documentation to see all the APIs, the interfaces of this. Okay, the properties, the methods in here. Okay, these are based on C Sharp, but it actually not quite different when you want to call that using Swift. Okay, and also one thing that I found helpful is you can also ask the AI such as Bing, Copilot, or ChatGPT to generate the code for you. For example, in here, like I can ask them, hey, Copilot, create me a GridView item in UI programmatically without XML. And it output this C# code that can I use as the foundation to initialize and construct the Swift code. It's not too different actually when you implement that later. Okay, so this is also helpful when building an app because currently it doesn't provide the auto completion. Okay, so you just download this WinUI gallery and use that as your reference for all the component that you can use to build the native modern Windows application. Okay, I think that's it for the architecture overview. Now let's go back to Visual Studio Code and begin building this application from scratch. Now let's begin by creating the models and the API. For the models and the API, we are going to use the models and API from the XCANews iOS macOS application. So here's the repository to this NewsAPI application. So just download this to your local machine. Okay. And here I've downloaded this to my local machine. Just click on this XCANews share and select these models, right? Basically, we are going to copy these models to this Windows application, XAML Windows application. So here inside the sources slash WinUI to animation preview, just refill this in File Explorer. Okay, and now just right click here, copy, and then navigate inside this WinUI to animations preview and just paste this models border. And for the API, we are also going to use this NewsAPI.swift inside the IPA folder, copy this, and paste this as well inside this WinUI animation preview. Okay, now we have copied all the files from the XCANewsSwiftUI application. So this is the models folder. So there are several things that we won't be needing. For example, this paging data. So let's just delete this. Also this data store, we won't be needing this as we won't be persisting anything. And the menu item itself, we are not going to use this. Okay, so we have article, category articles, data fetch space, and news API response from the SwiftUI application, right? Now let's navigate to this article.swift. We'll be making some modification to this article.news. First one is we are not going to use this relative data formatter as this is not available on the Windows environment in Swift. So let's just delete this. And we need to make adjustment to this caption text, which use this relative date formatter. First, let's just create a static date formatter inside this article. Okay, just create a static LED date formatter with the type of date formatter. Okay, and then inside this closure, Let's initialize that formatter, date formatter, okay, and set the date formatter, date format. If you see, if we are using the foundation type, it is able to provide auto completion. Okay, so that's nice. And let's provide this month, capital M, uppercase, and then lowercase d slash d, and then uppercase HH colon. This will be the hour, and then this lowercase mm. This will be the minute. Okay, and then just return the date formatter. We're going to show the time inside the caption text. Okay, so in the caption text, let's update this. So in here, let's just use this static self date formatter and then invoke string from date. Okay, and for the date, we are going to use the publish at, which is a date instance. Okay, now we have updated this article. And next one, let's just remove this identifiable conformance as we are not going to use SwiftUI. Also for these stubs, we are not going to use a JSON stub in here. So let's just remove this. And in here, you can also provide your own stubs if you want. So I'm going to copy from the completed project. So here, so this is just a hard-coded if you want to stop without making API call to the NewsAPI.org. Okay, so I think that's all for the article. And for the category, also let's make some adjustment in here. So we don't need this identifiable also. And the system image, this is not available on the Windows, right? SF symbol is not available. So for now, let's just delete this. And one more thing is this data fetch as well, as this one provide a case where it navigates to the next page, pagination state. So we won't be having pagination in our application this time. So let's just remove this, okay, and then replace this with fetching, okay, to indicate it is fetching for the page from News API. Okay, so let's remove this else if case fetching expect page. Okay, and let's make several computed properties that will help us to get the state for each case. First one is empty. Okay, boolean. Here it's going to be pretty simple. If case dot empty equal to self, then we're just going to return true. If not, we just return false. Also for is fetching, we can use the same pattern. If case fetching equal to self, return true. You may be asking why I'm not just making this conform to the equitable, right? The issue is because of this associated value. There's still a code that we need to add. So for simplicity, I'm just going to use this pattern. And the last one is error text var, which is a type of string. Okay, optional string. So in here, if case failure, and let's grab the shared failure itself, we're just going to use the return the error dot localized description. Else we just return nil. Okay, this is the adjustment for the data fetch phase. Looks good. Next one is the news API response. And now we have the news API.swift. So for the news API.swift, you can grab the API key from newsapi.org. So this is the website. NewsAPI.org, just register and get the API key. And when provide the API key inside this NewsAPI API key property constant. Okay. And we should be able to just use this code. But there's one more thing. So actually URL session in Windows currently doesn't provide async await, right? So we can just tackle this by creating an extension, right? Then use the continuation API to just wrap the completion callback inside an async await. Okay. So here inside this WinUI animations preview, just create a new file, give it a name of URL session plus async.swift. Okay. And in here, I'm just going to copy and paste this code from the completed project to save some time. Okay. So basically in here, it's just using this with check drawing continuation API. And then it's going to just use the URL session data task completion handler. And then if error, just call continuation resume with throwing error. If the response is not available, throwing this invalid URL response. If the data is not available, throwing the missing response data. And finally, if everything is succeeded, then we just call resume, returning the data and the response. And finally, we call resume just like always, right? So this is an extension of URL session. Okay, now we have added all of these models and API. We need to make sure it is working. Let's try to build from this CMake. Okay, let's wait. It will take some time. Okay, let's see. Hopefully it succeeded. I think it rebuilds because we are adding that some of the new components from the scene WinRT CMake, right? Some of the missing components that we are going to need. So it rebuilds that as well. So we might need to wait a bit. So if you see here, it says this exit code 2. So there must be something wrong in our code. And as you can see here, it shows this red color in this NewsAPI.swift. So let's see. Okay, as you can see, it provides this has no member shared. Okay, so basically to access URL session in Windows, we need to use not just Windows, also in Linux, we need to use foundation networking. Okay, let's import this foundation networking. Let's try again. Build. This should be faster this time. Okay, build finished with exit code 0. So it's successful. Okay, we have added all the modules and APIs successfully. Now we can focus on implementing the main window and the view. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is just to create a subclass of main window. Okay, so create a new file inside WinUI to animations preview and give it a name of main window.swift. Okay, so here for now, let's just copy all of this import. Okay, main window.swift. Okay, and let's just declare a class, give it a name of main window, make this conform to window. Okay, and let's declare several properties for this class. We're going to hold the categories array, category dot all cases. So these are all enum. And next one is the API itself from the news API dot shared. Okay, and next one is the fetch phase. So this will be the model in our window. Let's just initialize this with data fetch phase. So this is generic. So for our data, we're going to use an array of article, which will be shown in the grid list. Okay, article, close this, and the initial state will be fetching. Okay, as we are going to fetch when the app window initialized. Okay, So we have all the initial properties. Now let's navigate to this preview app.swift. As you can see here, this lazy var is using this window, okay, M window. Now let's update this type of M window with our main window subclass. And also in here, let's remove this M window.title. Okay, we're going to see the title in our window itself, subclass. And now we just need to delete all of these buttons. We won't be needing this. Okay. And we also won't be doing any animation. Okay, so let's just remove everything in here. But keep the query interface. We will be, it is required, I think. Okay. Okay, we have updated this. The next thing that we are going to do is we have to configure the interface, the UI of our window. So in here, the class of my window, let's create an override for the initializer, override init. Make sure to call super init in here and just invoke setup window. Okay, now let's create a method for it, func setup window. Okay, so inside this setup window, the first thing that we are going to do is set the title of the window to anything that you want, but here I'm just going to give it the name of XCANews. And let's remove the title bar. Okay, the default title bar looks bad. So let's just use this self extends content into title bar to true. Okay, and we're going to apply a backdrop for our window. So let me show you what I mean. So here in the WinUI 3 gallery, just search for backdrop. So basically, if you see, there are several backdrop that we can use. It provides some kind of transparency to the window base. Okay, so if you see this Mica, so if you see, this is the Mica backdrop, and this is Mica alt, and this is the art click. Okay, so we are going to also use the system backdrops for our window, so it looks good and modern. So to do that, we just need to initialize the Mica backdrop and then initialize it like this, put it in the flat. Now let's set the Mica backdrop dot kind. So there are two, alt and the default one. Default one we are going to use, which is the base. Okay, if you want, you can also try the other kind. And we just need to set this Windows self.system backdrop to Mica backdrop flat. Okay, property. Now let's try to build and see the results of this. Hope there are no issues. Okay, build finished with code 2. Let's see in here. What's the issue? Okay, basically here it shows cannot infer context base in reference to member base. So let's see again, main window. So Mica backdrop. Cannot find Mica backdrop in scope. Mica backdrop. Sorry, I missed the D in here. Backdrop. Mica backdrop. Now let's try. It doesn't provide auto completion, so that's why it's very easy to make a mistake. Okay, build finished with code 0 successfully. Now we can just open the X executable, resolve in Explorer, click. Wow, looks nice. This is the Mica backdrop that we are using. Okay, we have set up the initial main window for our application successfully. Okay, next we are going to add the navigation view with the left side panel. Let me open the WinUI 3 and show you the API navigation view. Click. Okay, so this is the navigation view. It's a control that provides a common vertical layout for top level areas or your app via collapsible navigation menu. So navigation view with the default pane display mode. Okay, it's like this. If you see, all the navigation items are shown at the left navigation pane. And there's also an option to set the pane display mode to top. So all the navigation item is displayed at the top. You can play around with this actually, with this WinUI 3 gallery, right? Looks nice. So for our application, we are just going to use this default one, which will be shown in the left. Okay, so let's begin. Just go to this main window if you haven't. And then there's one more thing that we also need to add. So if you see in the navigation view item in here, so we are going to show all the categories for our application: entertainment, technology, business. We're also going to show the icon in here as well, right? So for that, we need to add some computed property to the category enum. So navigate to the category, Command P, show this category.swift, and I'm just going to copy and paste the glyph. So this called glyph is the representation. So let me fix this indentation. Okay, so it's using the Unicode points for this actually. So let me show you the website where you can see all the Unicode points. So this is the website, Segu MDL2 asset icons. So these are all the Unicode points that we can use to represent an icon using the Glyph API in WinUI. Okay, so these are all the Unicode points. So I have added all of this for the general, business, technology, entertainment, science, health, and sports. So we are just going to use them later when we construct the navigation view item. Okay, now we can go back to main window. So first, let's declare a lazy var for the navigation view. Okay, we're going to put the code to construct the navigation view inside this closure. Okay, so let's begin by declaring a constant navigation view let, and then initialize the navigation view. Need to be careful because there is not code completion in here. Okay, so we won't be know if you make a mistake until we build. So navigation view dot pane title, this will set the title at the top of the navigation panel, so pane title. And in here I'm just going to set the title to XCANewsSwiftWinRT. Okay, you can put anything that you want depending on your application. Okay, next one is navigation view dot pane not panel, pane display mode. So here we can set top or left. Okay, so I'm just going to set it to left explicitly. And next one is navigation view dot is settings visible. Okay, so this will control whether it should show the settings button at the bottom. So if you see in here, there's this settings button, right? We won't be needing that settings button. So is settings visible? Just set it to false. Okay. Next one is navigation view open pane length. So this will determine the width of the pane if we are using the left pane display mode. So I'm just going to hardcode this to 220. Okay. And next one is navigation view is back button visible. As we won't be have any nested navigation for this app, okay, we're just going to set this to collapse so it won't be shown. So now let's use this self categories array and then loop this using for each. Okay, so in the closure, let's give it the name of C, the category, and then initialize the navigation view item. Navigation view item. Okay, and next we need to associate this with the category dot tag. So in here we should I'll actually can assign this with the category, right? But when I try this, it doesn't work. Right? I don't know why. When I try to access the tag, when the user select on the navigation item, it is not able to cast the type to category enum. So we are just going to use the WinRT model in here, which is this URI. Okay, so this URI we can initialize this with this. Just use this as a scheme. Okay, and then let's just provide the raw value of the category enum. Okay, so later we should be able to access this URI and get the category raw value and then initialize the category enum itself. Okay, I think probably because it requires this to conform to inspectable. Okay, which I have tried to conform to inspectable using a Swift type, but I'm not able to do it successfully. Okay, but for now this should be sufficient to get the job done. And now let's initialize the icon with the font icon. Okay, and set the icon dot glyph using the glyph that we have declared in the category enum, and set the navigation view item dot content with the text. Okay, text property of the category. And now we just need to invoke navigation view dot menu items. So this is an array menu items, and then invoke append, and then just append the navigation view item. Now we're going to continue. Now we're just going to set the header text at the top, navigation view dot header. Okay, so the header itself will be this one. So this is the header that will be shown when we set that navigation view dot header property. Okay, so we're just going to assign the first element, this array, the text, okay, of this category as the header initially. Continuing on, let's set the navigation view selected item as well with the first item, navigation view dot menu items. Okay, just get the first one using this subscript 0. Okay, that will be the initial header and the selected item. And next one, we also need to add a handler when the user select an item. Okay, so in here we can use this navigation view dot selection change, and here we can invoke this add handler and pass the closure that will be invoked when the user select a navigation view item. Okay, just make the self as weak in here. Here it actually will pass the argument, but we are not going to be using that, so let's just ignore this and use this in. Okay, so in here we're going to invoke a method handle refresh. Okay, we haven't created this method, so let me create this func handle refresh. Okay, now just return the navigation view from this lazy var closure. Okay, so there are a lot of code that we have typed. So let's try to build it first, make sure there are no issues before we are continuing to implement the handle refresh. Whew, there's no issue, successful with exit code 0. So let's continue with the handle refresh. Okay, so this will be invoked when the user select a navigation view item from the navigation view left pane. So let's just use guard in here. First one is select item. So let's grab the selected item using the navigation view dot selected item. So let's cast this as navigation view item. Okay, we need to cast this. And after that, let's grab the tag item. First one, let's just wrap this in a parenthesis item dot tag. We also need to cast this as URI. Okay, as you remember, we put the tag as URI in here. Okay, so after that, we just get the optional. This optional, right? You can fail, and then grab the host property from the URI. Okay, this will be the category raw value. Okay, and then we can simply use this raw value to construct the category enum back using this category raw value, passing the stack string. Okay, and finally in the else, we just return if one of them fails. Finally, we just need to invoke self.navigationView.header with the category text. Okay, so this will be the initial implementation of handler refresh. Later we will add a invocation where it will fetches the data from the news API with the new selected category. Okay, we should be able to try this, but there's one more thing that we need to add in here. We need to set the content of this window with the navigation view. Okay, now let's build it and run. Okay, let's run this. Nice, we got this navigation view with this header title. Let's select other item: business, technology, entertainment, sports, science, and health. Okay, we can expand and collapse this. This is the pen title. This is the width of 220 that we set. So yeah, this looks good. Nice. Now let's move on to the next task. Okay, so let's implement fetch articles method from the news API. So here below this handler refresh method, let's create a fetch articles func fetch articles. So let's add a parameter category, just the category enum. Oh, so this fetch articles. First, we need to grab the dispatch queue from the application dispatcher queue. So we won't be able to update the UI using dispatch queue main or the task with the main actor. So I have tried and I wasn't able to do it successfully. So the approach is just to use this dispatcher queue that we are going to get and then enqueue the closure to update the UI. Okay, let's implement this for you to see. So just let use this guardlet dispatcher queue. So to get this, we need to use this WinApp SDK. Okay, and then this dispatcher queue get for current thread. Okay, and then if it fails, we just return. Okay, so we got the dispatcher queue from the current thread. I think this should be the UI thread. And next, let's declare the assign the fetch phase state to fetching. Okay. Later we will show a overlay view with the progress indicator. And then let's kick off a detached task so it can run in the background thread. So let's use this do try catch. So in the catch, we're going to print the error for debugging through process. And Remember that we need to use this. So this is a throwing method, dispatcher q dot try and q. Okay, so we're going to try and q it in here, and then let's set the soft to weak in here. Okay, and then in this the closure, so we can update the UI in here. So for now, we're just going to set the self fetch face to failure state, passing the error. Okay, this is for the catch. And in the do block, first one, if you want to stop, you can use this. If you don't want to make an API call, you can use this article.stops. Okay, I'm just commenting it out because I'm just going to make an API call for this tutorial video. So let articles, and then just use try await in here. API fetch. Okay, so it accepts this from category. This will fetch the category. Okay, and then let's also print the articles to the console for the debugging purposes. And in here we need to update the UI, so we're going to do the same to enqueue it to the dispatcher queue. Let me copy and paste this and change the closure to update the fetch face. So in here we're going to check if the articles is empty. Okay, this array, we're going to set the self.fetch face with the empty state. Okay, we're going to show a text letter telling the user that there are no current articles, and else set the fetch face to success, and then passing the articles as the associated value, so it can be displayed in the GridView later. Remember to provide your API key in the NewsAPI.Swift. Okay, and now let's invoke this. First one, we're going to invoke this automatically when the app starts, this init method. So self.fetch articles. For the category, we're just going to pass the first one in the array. Okay, and the next one is this handle refresh method that we have created before. So this will be invoked when the user select a navigation view item from the left pane, navigation view. So let's invoke fetch articles passing the category, selected category. Now let's try to build and run this and see the result in the console. So we have added this print statement. We should be able to see. Click this, build. Okay, successful. Now let's open the executable. Click. So it should print the articles. Okay, it successfully print the articles in here. Nice. So if we change to another navigation view item, another category, it refetches with the selected category. Okay, sports. Nice. Okay, then this fetch articles method that we've created works successfully. Let's move on to next task. Next one is we're going to implement the grid view. So let me open the WinUI 3 gallery app and see grid view. So the grid view lets you show a collection of items arranged in rows and columns that scroll horizontally or vertically actually. So this is the example. So there are several adjustments that we can also make in here. So this is the thing that we are going to add to our application. So let's navigate to this main window again, and below this lazy var navigation view, let's declare the grid view. Okay, lazy var grid view. The type is grid view, and let's initialize it. This closure. Let grid view initialize a grid view instance. Just return it here, and then in between, first let's set the margin of this. This is similar to can say this is a padding in SwiftUI. So for the margin in WinUI, we need to initialize with the thickness instance, and let's set the left to 24, top to 16, okay, and then right to 24 and bottom to 0, okay, for the margin. And next one, we will be requiring to add a XAML component to this grid view. So basically this component will determine the size and the width for the navigation for the grid view item. Okay, so because I haven't found a way to initialize the instance of this items panel template with the items wrap grip using a programmatic Swift, so we will use the XML string and use the XML reader to initialize this as a component. Okay, so just follow me. Give it the name of item panels template, and in here just use this XAML reader dot load. Okay, so let's use a multi-line string literal here, and then just cast this, first cast this as items panel template. Okay, for now I'm going to just copy the string from the completed code. So this is the XML format. So basically here the items panel template, and then inside it is there's item swap grip with the item width of 350 and the item height of 380. Okay, but actually, as you know, that the number of items in the horizontal row is dynamic, right, depending on the width of the container. So this item width, we need to adjust this later, but the height, it will be fixed to 380. Okay, we will be needing this item swap grid, so to modify the item width when the size change. Okay, continuing on, let's set the grid view dot items panel with this items panel template. And next one, let's say the grid view is item click enable to draw, to enable click on the item of the grid view. And next one is this grid view item click at handler. We need to assign a closure in here with a weak self, and there are two arguments. Just ignore the first one and then grab the second one, name it as arcs. Okay, so inside this closure, let's use guard statement, let panel using this arcs optional. Okay, and click item property, and then we need to casting this as a stack panel. Okay, and then we need to get the URI panel dot tag as URI. So you may be wondering why we set this as stack panel. Later, when we implement the grid view item, we will use stack panel to construct the layout, and we will assign the tag of that panel with the URI, so we can get the associated news URL when the user tap and open it in web browser. Okay, and then in here fails, we just return. And finally, so when the user click on the GridView item, we want to open the news article link in the browser. Okay. So actually, there's one API that we can use from the system launcher, Windows SDK system launcher, launch URL async. That we just need to pass the URL and it will open the user preferred browser, right? Default browser. But actually, I cannot use that API currently using this current Windows Swift-WinRT binding. So we are going to use another route to open it. So we're going to use just the standard Swift process and then invoke run. So in the run, just initialize an URL, okay, using this file URL with path initializer. And then in here, I'm going to copy the string. Okay. So this is the location of the Microsoft Edge browser. So this is a built-in browser in Windows 11. So there must be this Microsoft Edge in the user system. And then we're going to pass the arguments, which is the link. So it will open the article in the Microsoft Edge browser. So this is a bit hacky, but currently it works. Okay. Until further refinement of the WinRT SDK, where we can access the system launcher, launch your async, we can just use this for now to get the job done. Continuing on, we will add the GridView.size change. So this will be invoked when the size of the GridView change, when the window resizes. We're going to add a handler as well in here. Assign a closure, weak cell, and ignore the first parameter and grab the second one, the arguments. Okay, so in here, we're just going to guard let self and this argument as well, and then declare this items wrap grid, which we can get from the self.gridView items panel, and then we need to cast this as items wrap grid instance. Okay, and in the else we just return. Now we need to get the column number given the size of your container. Let's just wrap this, cast this double, and then invoke this rounding up sale using the argument newSize.width. And here we want to have a size of 350 as the base for the width of the item. Okay, this will calculate that based on this, the number of column. And then we need to set the items wrap grid dot item width with double again, and then arcs new size dot width, and just divide that with the columns. Okay, so basically 350 will be the base width, and then as the width of the container get larger, it will add the item based on this number of the column. Okay, so it will adapt, it will be adaptive. Okay, that's it for the grid view. Now we need to add this did set inside this fetch phase. Okay, so that did set in here, and then basically we just need to invoke fetch phase did change, passing the fetch phase. Okay, we haven't implemented this, so let's implement this here. I think above this fetch articles, just declare func fetch phase did change fetch phase parameter. It's going to accept the data fetch phase, okay, with the type of article array. Okay, in here we just need to switch initially the fetch phase enum. In case it is success case, let's grab the articles. For the default, the other we'll just set it as default for now. We'll handle that later. And then in here, just invoke these articles for each, loop this, and then basically just need invoke slav.gridview.items, this is an array, then append. For now, let's just show the text of the article, the title. Okay. Later we will implement a subclass of custom GridView item with our UI. And now there's one more thing. We need to assign this GridView here to the NavigationView.content. Okay. We need to make this. Now let's try to build and run this. Here, build the CMake. A lot of code. Okay, there is no error. Maybe I'm lucky. Okay, then now let's see the results. Okay, this looks good. So here we have this article here. So given this size of container, there are 2 items per row. Let me make it bigger. So now we have 3. And let's say if I collapse this, now we have 4. Okay. So there's actually one thing that I just realized, that the navigation item icon is not shown because I forgot to set this navigation item dot icon with the icon that we have created. So sorry, let's try to build. Okay, let's see again. Hope the icon is rendered properly. Okay, the icon now is rendered for each of navigation view item. Nice. Okay, for the next task, we will create a subclass of this GridView item. We'll provide a interface for the articles inside the GridView. Okay, so in here, just create a new file and then give it the name of article GridView item.swift. Okay, so in here, I'm just going to copy all of this import again to here. And then just declare a class article GridView item with the parent class of GridView item from the WinRT, WinUI. And then we have one let in here, which is the article. And then let's create an initializer article. And then we're going to just assign this article to self.article, and then make sure to invoke super init, and then let's invoke setup view. Let's create a method setup view. Okay, now in the setup view, we need to implement the UI. First one, I want to set this grid view item vertical content alignment to top. Okay, so it will be top aligned. Next one, I want to set this horizontal content alignment to stretch, so it fills the width of the parent container. And next one, I'm going to initialize the panel. So this is a stack panel. You can assume this stack panel is similar to the V stack or H stack. Okay. So I'm going to set the panel dot orientation to vertical. So this will be similar to V stack in SwiftUI. And then I'm going to set a margin padding with this tightness instance of left 16, top 16, right 16, and bottom 16. Okay. And then I'm going to set the spacing between each of the item children to 8. Okay, there we go. We have the root container stack panel. Next one is I'm going to initialize a border. So basically this will will so basically this will provide the corner radius. Let's initialize this. Initialize it with the corner radius instant, and then we just need to pass the top left 4, top right 4, bottom left 4, and bottom right 4. Okay, and you can simply set this border dot radius corner radius with the corner radius that we have created, and set the background with the solid color brush. So this is how you set a background color in WinUI. In here I'm going to set it to colors dot light gray. So actually this should be bottom right and this should be bottom left, so the order is important. Okay, now we're going to initialize the image. This border corner radius itself will be used to make the image that will be shown with corner radius, okay, for each of the sides. So let's initialize the image that we will be shown for the news article. Initialize just this image. After that, we need to use this if flat URI. So to get the URI, we need to get this from the URL to image. This is optional from the article model. And then we need to initialize some bitmap image and pass this bitmap image instance, initialize this, and set the ebitmap image.source with the URI and pass the URL string. Okay, this will download the fetch the image from the internet if the URI is HTTP or HTTPS, right? And finally, we just need to set the image.source to bitmap image. Okay, continuing on, let's set the image height to a hardcoded value of 180, and let's adjust the stretch to uniform to fill. So this shown properly, and then set the image.horizontal alignment to center. And finally, we can apply the corner radius by using this border.child with the image. So basically, this border is wrapping this image. Continuing on, let's declare this title and then initialize a label, or it's called text block in WinUI. Title.text wrapping. So let's just set this to wrap to make sure the wrapping is properly executed. And then let's set the text trimming to basically word ellipsis. Okay, and let's set the title.font size to 18, title.font width to font weights dot bold constant, and set the title.text with article dot title. Set the maximum height of this to be 48. Okay, and finally we just need to append it to the stack panel. The first one will be the border, right, containing the image at the top, and then next one, let's append the title text. Continuing on, we're going to initialize the description text. So if article dot description text is not empty, remember that the description text in the article is the description property in the article is optional, so we need to be careful. If it is empty, we won't be appending it to the stack panel. Okay, just declare that description, initialize a text block again, And let's set the description.text wrapping to wrap, description.text trimming to word ellipsis, and description dot font size to 14, and description dot text to article dot description text, and description dot max height to 76. Okay, and finally we can append this to the stack panel. The children append. So the children is an array. Let's append this description text. Okay, that's it for description. So let's continue to caption text at the bottom. Initialize it with text block again. So the caption.text wrapping to wrap, caption.font size to just 12, caption.text to article.caption text, and continue on caption.max height just to 16, and set the panel.children and the caption. And finally, we need to associate this panel tag with the URI, which is the article.url. Okay, and then set the content of this with the stack panel. Okay, so this tag will be used when the user click on the article grid view and then open it in the browser, right? The one that we have implemented before for the grid view click handler. Okay, so now we need to use this article grid view item. Go back to the article grid view and go to the face did change, where we append this. So instead of append the title, now we can initialize the article grid view item. Okay, accept the category. We can just pass using this $0. Okay, now let's try to build and run this and see the result. We have typed a lot of code. Maybe I make some error. Let's see. Yeah, finish code too. Oh, sorry, this should be article. Okay, instead of category. Again. Okay, again, there's some error. Exit code 2, let's go to this. Nice, it highlights the error. So bitmap image.source, this URI is incorrect. Okay, sorry, this should be URI source. Okay, next one. So this caption is invalid. Okay, this is triple P. It should be just double P. What else? I think that's all. Let's try again. Okay, the build finished with exit code 0. Now we can test this. Let's see whether the article review item is rendered successfully. Wow, this is nice. So we have the article here. This is the image, and then we have the border with the corner radius, the title, the description, and the caption text. Nice. Wow, this looks good. Okay, we have successfully implemented this grid view list with custom grid view item layout. Okay, let's close this and let's continue. Next, let's add a pull to refresh container to the grid view. So to do this, let's go to the main window again, and this should be simple actually. So here above the grid view, let's just declare this lazy var refresh container, the type of refresh container, and then let's just put a closure in here. Just declare refresh container slash container, and then initialize refresh container, and then in here we just need to set the refresh container dot content with the grid view. So this refresh container, we will wrap the grid view, make it as a content, and then we need to add the handler, the refresh requested handler, refresh container dot refresh requested, and then invoke this add handler weak self in here. We don't need the arguments there, and then in here we just need to invoke handle refresh. Okay, as simple as that. Return refresh container. Okay, let's try again. Okay, succeed. Open. Let's see. Okay, top headlines. Now just pull this using your trackpad. There you go. We have that. And it should refresh. Nice. So that's it for the pull to refresh implementation inside the WinUI. Okay, so now let's implement the final task, which is to add the overlay view where we will show the text in case an error happens, as well as the retry button and also the progress string indicator that will be shown when the content is being fetched from the NewsAPI. Okay, so we will need to add the overlay view as well. So let's just begin. In here, navigate to this below this grid view. Let's begin by adding the stack panel in here that will show the title, retry, and the progress string in a vista. Overlay stack panel. Let's give it a name of that. And then the type is going to be stack panel. Okay, just initialize a stack panel. And let's just make sure I turn this before I forget. And set the stack panel horizontal alignment to stretch, and stack panel dot vertical alignment to also stretch, so it can fill its parent container. And then just hardcode the stack panel dot width to 280 and stack panel dot spacing to 16. Okay, so by default the orientation will be vertical. Okay, and then let's just and then let's just declare the overlay text block that will be shown for the error or when the text is article is empty. Give the name of overlay text block. It should be text block instance type, and then inside disclosure let's just initialize a text block in a let text block. Make sure to return the text block, and let's set the text block text wrapping to wrap text block dot text alignment to center, and text block dot text trimming toward ellipsis, and text block dot font size to 16, and text block dot font weight to font weight dot semi bold. Okay, and let's also set the max height for this text block to 100, and set the text block dot horizontal alignment to center. Okay, and let's add this. So children of the stack panel, pan self.overlay text block. Continuing on, let's declare the progress ring, the circular progress ring that will be shown when the content is being fetched. Set the name to overlay progress ring. The type is progress ring. Let's just initialize it in a closure. And then progress ring is as progress ring instance, and set the default visibility to collapse, and set the progress ring. So this visibility collapse means it is hidden, okay? And set this to is active to false, okay, for the initial state. Okay, make sure to add this after the overlay text block. Self.overlay progress ring. Okay, and finally we have the refresh button or the try button. So here let's use lazy var refresh button to the type of button, and then in the closure let's just declare a button return button in here, and in between set the button dot horizontal alignment to center, and set the button dot style to application. We're going to apply an accent from the default styling. So this is how we access the current system accent button style, default one. And then we need to cast this as style. Okay, there we go. We got the accented button in here for the refresh button. And let's set the content with a text of refresh, and set the button click handler that will be invoked when the user click self. We don't need the arguments. There are two, and then in here simply invoke handle refresh method. Okay, and don't forget in here just set this as the third children of the stack panel refresh button. Okay, we have this stack panel. Now before we add this, let's just try to build. We have typed a lot of code without auto completion, so there are some issues. Let's see. Okay, a typo again, horizontal alignment. Let's try to build now. Hope this is just the same issues. Okay, so where we will put this overlay stack panel. So basically we will use something similar to C-stack in SwiftUI. It's called canvas in the WinUI. Okay, so the first index, the first children will be the grid, and then on top of that we're going to add the overlay. Okay, so let's begin by navigate to this here below the navigation view, and then declare this lazy var root canvas, okay, with the type of canvas. Show us a closure in here. Declare canvas, initialize this. So in here we just need to set again the horizontal alignment to stretch to fill the container, parent container. Canvas dot vertical alignment to stretch, and set the margin with thickness of left 0, top 0, right 0, and bottom 0. If you want to make some adjustment to margin, you can do it, but for now just assign 0. And then we're going to set the children.append self.reference container for the first children, this C stack, and then canvas.children.append self.overlay stack panel at the top of the reference container. Okay. And currently there is no way that we can set this reference container and overlay stack panel to fill the parent size. So we need to handle the sizing manually. So for that, we're going to use this canvas size change and then add the handler. So this will be triggered when the canvas size changes as the window being resized by the user. Okay. In here, let's assign a closure with weak self, and then just ignore the first parameter and get the second one, name it as arcs. And here, just to start let self, let arcs, else return. And let's get the new width. We need to cast this to double. So this I think this is float. New size dot width and new height double arcs new size dot height. Okay, we got this. Now we just need to set the reference container dot width with the new width, and so this will fill the parent height with the new height. Okay, and now the positioning of the first step panel is a bit tricky. We need to calculate this. So we don't want it to fold the entire width and height of the parent actually, but we want to position it at the center depending on the size of the stack panel itself, right? So to do that, just declare the left double, and then inside that, just use this width, just subtract it with the overlay stack panel dot actual width, and then divide it by 2, and then for the top double height minus self dot overlay stack panel dot actual height divided by 2. Okay, and then we need to set this using this canvas dot set left, and then pass self dot overlay stack panel and pass the actual left position. Okay, so that will be the position that will be set, and then from the top set top self dot overlay stack panel dot top. Okay, overlay stack panel for stack panel. Okay, I think that's all, and don't forget to return the canvas in here, and don't forget in here we need to update this navigation view content to self.root canvas. Okay, now let's try to build this to see if there are some errors before we continue. Yeah, there is error. Where's the error? Let's see from here. Typo again. Refresh container, and this should be new width, and this should be new height. Okay, let's try again. Okay, we will succeed. Now we can continue. Now let's create several methods that help us manage the overlay view and the loading progress ring visibility, right? So here below this face.change, declare this func show overlay, and then there's one parameter that we need to pass, show, which is a boolean. In here we just need to set the overlay stack panel dot visibility. So in case it is true, we're going to set it as visible. If not, we're just going to set it as collapsed. And the next one is the reference container containing the grid view, right? So this will be reversed. If this is show, and then we will collapse this, else we will make this visible. Okay. So when the overlay is shown, we won't be shown the grid view and vice versa. Next one is the func set overlay progress string with one parameter is loading, it's a boolean. So this will control where will show the progress string, make it loading, spinning. And here we just set the overlay progress string dot is active. So if loading is true, we make it true, else we make it false. Second one, if for the progress string dot visibility again, if is loading is true, we make it visible, else we make it collapse. And finally, for the reverse button, we also want to set the visibility. In case is loading is true, we want to hide this using collapse, else we just make it visible. Okay, now we have these two helper methods. And finally, we just need to update all the states inside this fetch phase did change. Okay, so let's begin from the success. So now, in case of success, we want to invoke show overlay view. We want to hide the overlay, okay, and show the reference container. And then I'm going to set the overlay text block dot text as empty string. And I'm going to set the set overlay progress string is loading to false. And finally, I'm also going to clear this. I'm going to clear this grid view current items. Okay. Otherwise, it will keep on appending the item when we refresh. Okay. And continuing on, we need to handle the second case, which is failure, that error. Okay. So in here, we want to set the show overlay view as true and self.overlay text block.text as error.localized description string, and let's set the overlay progress string with this loading as false. Okay, that's it for the error case. And now for the fetching. The fetching case, we want to show the overlay view as true. And we want to also show this progress string. Let me just copy and paste to make it faster. True. And this overlay text block the text. In this instance, fetching state, just want to set the empty string. And finally, we have one final case, which is empty. So in case of empty, I'm just going to copy and paste from fetching. Still showing the overlay view, but for the overlay text, we're going to show a text. There are no articles. Please check again later. Okay. I think this is all the case. And now let's just try this. Build. What did I miss? Show overlay view. Ah, the name is not show overlay views. The name is show overlay. Okay, got that. Try again. Still one error. Where is the error? This one. Okay, forget the I. Visibility. Try again. One more. What is it? Oh, this one. Okay. I think should solve everything now. Nice. They will succeed. Now we can test. Okay, now let's just test this quickly. So let me open this. It should show the loading state. Nice. Okay, this is the success case. And next one, we just quickly stop it, the data in here. So in here, just to make this quick, okay, just set this as true. So it will show the empty state. Set the fetch phase to empty, triggering the empty state date for the UI. Okay, build. Okay, succeed. Try. Okay, there are no articles. Please check again later. It should show the retry button. It should stop the progressing, but it's not doing that. So let's see. This should be false. Sorry. And okay, let's try again. I need to close the app first before I build, otherwise it will fail. Okay, try. Okay, there are no articles. Please check again later. And when we click this, it's going to refresh. Nice. So empty state works. Let's revert before we forget. Sorry, not this one. I mean this one. If articles is empty. And now we just need to test the error case, right? So one thing that you can do to simulate the error quickly is just to update the NewsAPI API key. Just put any API key, invalid API key. It should throw the error, right? Now let's try. Okay. Okay, your API key is invalid or incorrect. Show the error successfully for the failure case. Nice. That's it, I think. Let me refer back to the NewsAPI. Okay, I think that's it for this tutorial video. We have successfully built this application, this modern Windows application using native Swift with Swift-WinRT from the browser company open source project. So it's amazing. This is a modern Windows application using the latest WinUI 3 framework from Microsoft. And we're building this using just Swift, right? We don't use any C++ or any C sharp, right, code to build the application. So basically we can share the logic and the models between across platforms from macOS, iOS, Linux, and Windows for the models and also the business logic. But for the view, we can just implement native view for each of the platform to achieve the best performance and the best user experience like this, right? So that's it for this video tutorial, special video actually, because we are building modern Windows application using Swift. So I think as we go forward into the future of Swift and as the C++ interop matures, there will be more features, more requirement to this WinRT SDK as well as the interfacing with the Windows SDK using Swift. Okay, there are a lot of C++ interop that will be implementing in the future that will help to achieve that. So that's it for this video. Like the video if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and just want to say one thing, let's keep on being a lifelong learner. Goodbye.